Hello, this is Ron Sheveland, and I'm the director of I-Training. It's a ministry that allows me to travel around the world and train pastors and church leaders in strategic countries. In May, I traveled to India. In the background, you'll hear the national anthem for India. In particular, I went to the state of Manipur. The small state of Manipur is located at the northeastern tip of India, having the international boundary with Myanmar. 92% of Manipur is hilly or mountainous. The remaining 8% is a plain. The inhabitants of Manipur can broadly be divided into two groups, such as the Matai people that inhabit the plain area. They comprise about 60% of the total population, and the tribal groups that occupy the hill areas of the state, and they comprise about 30% of the total population. The tribal groups are again broadly divided into two groups, such as the Nagais that occupy the north, the northwest, and the northeast regions of the state, whereas the non-Nagai tribal groups occupy the southern, the southeast, and the southwest regions of the state. When I arrived in India, I first of all went to New Delhi, and then I went to Manipur. Particularly, I went to an area called Imphal. And here in the pictures, you can see the shopping district in Imphal. I went to work with a man named Joshua Runsung. This is a picture of him and his family.
All right. We are going to have a great time here. We welcome Ron Sheveland and Paul Ferguson over here in Imphal, Manipur. Our third pastoral and leadership skill enhancement training is going to start. And Ron is our first faculty for the whole week with Paul. And we want to thank all the sponsors and those who have helped Ron and Paul come here. You are with us. You may not come, but by supporting them, you are supporting us, and thank you so much. About over 30 has registered for this pastoral training, and this week we are looking forward to have a wonderful time together. Thank you.
For 5 intense days, I taught at the Pastoral and Leadership Skill Enhancement Training Center. They brought in about 30 students from all over Manipur. Many of them were seasoned pastors who hadn't had further training in the last decade. And then there were several theological students that were just getting started. This was a great group to work with. I had the opportunity of teaching with a co-teacher, and his name was Paul Ferguson. And together we taught through the book of Nehemiah, doing a thorough study of what Nehemiah is all about, but also focusing in at Nehemiah's life, seeing how he is a model for successful leadership. We saw how to start a great project for God, and then how to work with your people in bringing about spiritual revival. We would teach and break them up into groups, give them projects to work on, and each of them is now going to take that material and multiply it in their home settings. This was a phenomenal week, and I'm so proud to have spent time with all of these different individuals. This is part of the Trinity School of Theology. They also have a Bible school that they are starting, and their goal is to try to train people that can go into Imphal and reach the unreached people group of the Manitais. 3 key leaders are involved in this task. After I taught at the school, I then took a trip way up into the mountains. So for 5 hours, we went along mountain roads like you're watching right now. As you go with me on this trip, let me tell you a little bit about the history of Christianity in Manipur. The first missionary who came to Manipur was Reverend William Pettigrew. From Edinburgh, Scotland, he left England for India on December 16, 1890, and came to Bengal. After 3 years, he then came to Imphal, this city that we just were at in Manipur. His goal was to reach the Hindu Matais of the Manipur Valley by opening schools. But no sooner had he started his work when some Orthodox Hindu Matai leaders began to suspect that this was a deliberate attempt to impose the British religion on them. And when they raised an uproar with the British governor, he expelled Pettigrew from the region. And the result is that the Imphal region is still almost completely Hindu. So he then went up into the mountains and went to various villages, but kept getting turned away by the chiefs. And out of desperation, he began searching for a suitable place to establish his mission statement in the mountainous Ukhrul regions of East Manipur. This is a dangerous place to work. The people were headhunters. But after touring many different areas, he chose to begin his work in Hung Fun. Tradition says that the villagers plotted to kill Pettigrew, but the chief prevented this because his great-grandfather had had a vision of a white man who came with a black book to help his people. So since it had been foretold by his ancestors about the coming of this white missionary, the chief granted him enough land to start his work. When the chief was converted, the whole tribe converted as well, and Christianity had its start in Manipur. They opened a school, which became the first government school in the hills. Today it's called the William Pettigrew College. And in 1902, the first church, known as the Fungyo Baptist Church, was planted. As I visited that church, I was moved by how God used this missionary to make such an incredible impact. The work spread, and today the whole hill region of Manipur is largely Christian. Much of it is nominal and is in need of evangelism and revitalization, but there are still many vital churches in a lot of the villages. It's a privilege to be able to visit in this area and serve with the people there.
I'm Joshua here, and I just want to say thank you to all those who have stood behind financially supporting Ron Sheveland to come all the way to Imphal, Manipur, India, to be a blessing to our pastoral and leadership skill enhancement training. The module was well attended. The pastors were really blessed. And now after this module that we finished on Friday, today is a Saturday, we are driving up the mountains. You can see the view behind. And Ron is going to preach in a church. And I just want to thank you once again for all those who have stood behind Ron. This is a good ministry. I pray that you will partner with Ron Sheveland, sow into his ministry, so that our people here and around the world can be blessed by your support and by standing behind Ron. Thank you.
Good morning. How are you, Pastor? This is the pastor of the church. And Pastor, your name is? And he has been pastor here for 2 years?
Yeah.
He's letting me preach this morning. Isn't that incredible? What a generous man.
Thanks for coming, Dr. Ram.
It's good to be here. What a beautiful church building you have.
Your church?
This church was started in
1911.
1911, and you can see it on the monolith here. It's a great celebration of how old the church is.
It was a joy to preach at Toulouse Baptist Church and see about a dozen people accept Jesus Christ as their personal Lord and Savior. The vest that I'm wearing was a gift from the people, and it represents the colors of that particular tribe. After the service, we went out back where they were auctioning chickens and other crops the people bring in as tithes. The man with the beard is Joshua's father, and of course the other man is the pastor of the church.
I'm Reverend Renu Pai Vushum, pastor to Lee Baptist Church. We are glad to have Dr. Ron with us this morning in our worship service. He has brought a very relevant message for our people, the right message at the right time. So glad to have Dr. Ron. We wish you will send him again over here, maybe for preaching and for training our deacons and our teachers here. So thank you very much for partnering us in our ministry for the Lord.
And I too want to thank all of you that allow my trips to go forward by encouraging me with your gifts and with your prayers. Please go to my website, www.i-training.info, and learn more about the ministry of iTraining.